How did Own the Stage come about? I'm pretty sure it was at one of our boot camps, and Craig and I were standing there, and one of the boot campers, asked about what's the best resource for learning staging and the use of stage as a presenter. And even though we coach these things, Craig and I looked at each other, and it was almost in unison that we looked at each other and said, guess what we have to create? And the original concept was just going to be a simple 2 little DVD set. And we thought of, where's the best audience? Where's our favorite audience? We speak all over the world. And one of the most vibrant audiences that we've ever found is in Toronto, Canada. So our goal was to go up and shoot like a principles DVD. It turned into a foundations DVD. That if you really want to own the stage, here's some of the real specific things you need to know to create own the stage persona, to really captivate the audience. And then we were going to have a boot camp on Saturday and Sunday. So we thought, well, we'll coach some speakers and maybe we'll get a few clips to really back up or reinforce or show the application of those foundations for Own the Stage. Well, if you know me, I love to think big. And as the project evolved, we went and we shot it. We shot the Friday night, which had its challenges. And then Saturday and Sunday we shot the other speakers. And at the end of the weekend, Craig and I just looked at each other and we said, wow, these speakers really transformed. Where do we start? And it dawned on us that each speaker is very different. They have their own styles. So all of a sudden the project started evolving into this 10 DVD set that each specific speaker, some made the same mistakes, some made very different ones. But we found that all of them were powerful and we couldn't think of who would we leave out or which parts would we use. We actually had someone in the audience who took 23 pages of notes, who was just an observer. And that's really kind of how Own the Stage came about. Craig and I have released a lot of educational tools on our own. A lot of them right at the beginning of 2001, 2002, when I was just starting to coach. But I know that I have learned so much in the past 2 years that I want to incorporate these new ideas and these new concepts that I had just learned from great speaker coaches like Patricia Fripp. So whenever I'm creating a program, I go back and I say, okay, when I was starting out, or when I thought I was good, what would I really want to know? And that's how I go about creating it. So I thought with my mentors, I want to know how they prepare, how they really sit down and get ready to customize or get to know an audience. How do you do the research, but really specific? Also, when you get to the event site, what do you do? How do you look at the room? How do you change the room? Specific, specific, specific. And then 5 minutes before, what are you doing and what are you thinking? Sometimes you notice that some speakers take the stage and other speakers own the stage. And what's the difference? So this program was created to really show what we do, what we think, and how we approach every aspect of the presentation. Because a lot becomes before you even get on the stage, which makes it look easy once you're there. So this program really took off and became this monster. But I couldn't be more excited and more proud of something that I created. What are some of the challenges? Man, every single presentation has its challenges. There's never one that's perfect or easy. Usually the connection with the audience can be perfect, but the atmosphere seldom is. And when we put this together, we had a group of fellow speakers who were wonderful enough to help create this event for us on Friday night in Toronto. But the challenge was we only had a few hours to use the room. And this was last summer, and it was like one of the hot spells in Toronto, and the air conditioning wasn't working. So if you see on some of the clips when you're watching it, you'll actually see sweat pouring off our face. Especially it showed up in some of Craig's clips where just the audience is like fanning themselves in between the takes. And then we had the time frame. We had to cut off and stop at a certain time, so we're pushing the limits because we brought in a camera crew to film this. So it definitely had its challenges. Friday night more than over the weekend, but it really evolved that the first two DVDs are really about the foundations of what you need to know to own the stage. You sit with us in a hotel room as we tell you specifically what we do when we research and show you. And then we sat on the stage just before this big event. You actually see us speaking very candidly, very frankly, with what we're going and what we're feeling right at that moment. And we had a lot of pressure. We had a camera crew there, and we had an event with a time limit, really hot. And what if it didn't work? And what if we brought this camera crew in and it didn't work? So we had our anxieties ourselves, but you'll see what we do and how we deal with it to help you in these adverse situations. So it was challenging. What was really cool about the boot camp was seeing the speakers evolve. Actually watching 8 speakers transform. I mean, you'll see Carmelita, who actually wrote the speech the night before and had a powerful personal story, but didn't really know exactly how best to tell it. Ron was another great example of he had the right concept and the right idea, but he was doing a motivational speech and it just wasn't deep enough. And so you'll see Ron transform with these techniques. There was a gentleman there, Pat, who has a background as preaching, and that's exactly what he was doing, but he wasn't really connecting with the audience. So you see that transformation as well. It was just so cool to get to know all of the speakers, and Kitty and Joseph, and you really see a fascinating group dynamic happen in this program, where some of the best ideas even come from some of the observers who were in the audience and weren't actually the coachees. So it was cool working with them, and Craig and I love working in this environment. It's fun. I was preparing for my own professional presentation for the New England medical equipment dealers. Hey, let me call you in 2 minutes, okay? It's Craig Valentine calling me on the phone. I'm taping a video. You're on the video, Craig. Craig is calling me right now. Craig, I'll cut. Yes, they can. See, Craig Valentine right on my cell phone. Craig. Working with Craig. I love Craig. If you don't know Craig Valentine, the 1999 world champion, he and I are so similar in some ways and so exact opposite in others. But I had in my head that when I was coaching a presenter, my goal was to get Craig to do this whenever something brilliant or perfect or wonderful happens. Craig has this thing that he does that he'll have like his pen in his hand and he'll go, "Oh, yes!" And so my goal was to try and evoke that emotion from Craig, and you'll even see some of those moments in the program. But Craig is just a master at storytelling, and I could not ask for somebody better to share the stage with, teaching people how to own the stage. We really work well, and bottom line is we have a lot of fun, which makes it such a better environment for everyone who's there. So I'll work with Craig anytime, and we've become great friends because of it. Just one of my best friends in the world.